let's look into the monstrous creativity of Mark Spears. From fine art, jaw-dropping covers for Spawn, and his highly successful series, Mark Spears Monsters, and so much more. We will explore his incredible comic book journey, talk about some iconic projects, and why he is considered by some to be the artist of 2024. Here is Creator Spotlight, Mark Spears. Creator Spotlight. I was talking to Shane and I said, what if we talked about Mark Spears? Because frankly, I need to know what's going on. Why is he so hot? And I did some research this week and now I understand why. Again, a lot of people kept saying it's the Universal Monsters and that. I agree that has something to do with it, but I think it's a little bit more than that. And I was right in my assumption that it was more than that. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Mark Spears. Did you get a chance to do a little research on Mark Spears since you kind of knew we were going to talk a little bit about him?
I did a little bit, yeah. I was really looking forward to this actually because this is one of those artists that's so hot, but that I don't know a ton about. But I did check my CLZ, and I probably have one of the most unknown Mark Spears covers. I'm just going to shout it out there. He did a cover for Rat City. I think it's issue 9, I believe. I can't remember for sure. But I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that cover. I loved it. But I didn't realize it was him because it was well before all of the hype.
Yeah. And believe it or not, we're not going to talk about Rat City. I was like, that was one book that I said, I'm not going to put it up. So, but there are other books that we're going to talk about in the book. Mark Spears is a renowned comic book artist and painter, best known for his Mark Spears Monster series, which was adapted into a comic book topping 224's trending list. He won 2020's Rondo Halton Classic Horror Awards Artist of the Year and created poster art for Spirit Halloween, the movie, in 2022, with work is featured in the film. In 2023, Todd McFarlane's Artist Spotlight showcased Spears, which contributed covers to Spawn, The Scorch, King Spawn, and Gunslinger Spawn. Spears launched his Monsters trading card series in 2021 with follow-ups in 2022 and 2023. Known for blending realism with classic horror, Spears is widely regarded as the top artist of 2024, celebrated for his compelling style and contributions to comics and fine art. Fans can explore Mark Spears' work on his official website, markspearspixels.com. So, as I was doing this research, I found out that he was part of that that Spawn universe of artists, and that said to me, now I'm starting to get this. So not only you had the Universal Monsters, you also had the Spawn. I don't know what we call them, the Spawn heads. What do you Spawn fans call yourselves? All right,
I don't know.
The Spawnies. I don't know. So you have that fan base on top of Universal fan base, but then to top it even more, he is also a renowned painter within the fine art community. Let's take a look at some of his work outside of the comics before we go into the comics. Here's a classic Spears image. I've seen this poster, and I would have never known it was a Spears.
You can barely tell that it's a painting, let alone like if you don't know a lot about basketball and just look at it.
Yeah. Like even the background, like the images are unfocused, so that's how you look at it. But it is a Spears, so he's done work there. It's obviously James, LeBron and Jordan. So there's that one. One of his most famous paintings is that Santa in the Major for Christmas. It's also called The First Christmas. When I saw that, I was like, wow, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that before.
That is one of his highest selling paintings.
The detail of that is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Also, you have a Muhammad Ali image. And again, all this can be found in his website. If you go to his website, you see it. There's so much stuff. I only picked some of them, but that Santa is one of his highest selling pieces. And lastly, look at that Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
That is detailed.
And,
So
Spears, like once you know his style, like the green, it's there. So,
yeah, yeah. You start noticing the vibrance of his colors, and part of the reason that his colors are so vibrant is because he's using RGB lighting sensibilities, which actually they don't translate well to print because you have to use CMYK. I was looking at an interview that he was in, and that's something he was doing. For those of you who don't know, you kids out there, that guy in the middle, that's Columbo. Shane, are you familiar with Columbo?
oh, yeah. We used to watch that show all the time.
Yeah, Columbo was a very popular 70s detective series. It was kind of that's what it was. Peter Falk. Yeah, absolutely. Um, just look at like I see the Mark Spears Monsters comics and I see it in this image. Like the green and the lighting and
Oh,
that.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm. And of course those two icons of basketball,
Yeah.
Bird, Bird and Johnson. Whew, magic, gorgeous. So I agree, DVH. That Peter Falk is superb. And K-pop, what's going on, Katie? How you doing? It's crazy to seeing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right, so go check out the stuff. Like I said, he has a lot. There's so much. Like he's from Alabama, so he did a lot of the college basketball teams that were there and college football teams. I didn't pick those up as much, but this is amazing work. Mhm. Let's take a look at some comics. Starting with his very first published work, and that is Vampirella Mind Warp #2. This is a 616 Comics Virgin variant. This is an exclusive comic that came out in 2022. So we've only had 3 years of Mark Spears. That's it. And he already has a whole bunch of stuff out there. So fair market value of this book is at $86 near mints. There's 9.8s there going for $148. I decided to add the highest sale. The highest sale of this book was at $180 and 9.8, and that happened not that long ago in 2004. This is an homage to another image, another Vampirella image that's out there, but it is his first published work.
Jump on it now.
Yeah, very inexpensive. But if you think $86 is too much, there's some other books that you might want to consider. Maniac of New York. Don't call it a comeback #1. It's hard to even say that with a straight face. This is from Aftershock Comics. This came out in 2023. This book has a high sale of $8.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of tell like he did a lot of store variants, so he was probably
Mhm.
trying to get his name out there and like before anybody knew really.
Mm-hmm. There's no slabs recorded. It's just one of those books. I remember this book when it came out. His style is so recognizable. You see it and you immediately know because you understand his sensibility when it comes to colors. I think that's his strong suit, the colors.
Yeah, the color and the perspective of the characters for sure.
Let's take a look at our next book in our list, and that is his first Spawn book, which is King Spawn #20. This came out in 2023. Guys, this is a $3 book. The highest value of this book was at $46 and 9.8. However, the last recorded sale was $5 this week.
Where's my notebook? I got to start writing this down. I'm going to try to find this book on Wednesday.
It might sell out. Look, just I'm speechless. So, Todd McFarlane was able to, I guess, find Mark Spears or something like that, and he ended up. What was really cool is hearing the stories of Mark Spears talking about when he was doing covers and how he had to get approved and things like that. And one of the things that was told to him is that Todd does not like artificial colors. And he said, "Okay, no, I won't do artificial colors." And then he went to his wife, and he tells his wife, like, "What's artificial colors?" So it turns out what Todd meant was that if the sky is supposed to be blue, then the sky is supposed to be blue. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
he wanted to have a natural habitat in his artwork. And what's very interesting to note is that sounds so anti-Todd when you hear stories about Todd and how he was always against the establishment. So here you are, Todd's people becoming that very same thing that Todd didn't want to be. So of course, in traditional Todd McFarlane fashion, Mark will do little things here and there that they would say don't do that, and then try to get away with it. And he did, because Todd said it looks great.
I mean, what can you say to that cover? You get that across your desk, you're like, yes, I love it.
Print it. Exactly. So this is one of those books. And again, it's his first Spawn comic. And he will be back on Spawn. So pick it up now, because this book is gonna rise in value. I'm certain of it. Another one, Gunslinger Spawn 18, another very inexpensive book. The fair market value of this book is $4. However, there are 9.8s of this book. $36 for 9.8. The highest sale of this book happened early April for $53 for a 9.8. However, this book just sold for $3 this week. And this is his first Gunslinger Spawn. This is the book I was talking to you about as far as the colors go.
Right.
And
yeah.
And the other thing is that cat. There's something about that cat that he added to the image. And they were like, okay, it's like, what's with the cat? It's like, I just put the cat there. And the cat appears in other books.
So cool. Such a great cover.
Our next book is another Spawn title. This is The Scorch, issue number 16. This came out again in 2023 for Image. Fair market value of this book is $3. Highest sell was $9 a couple of weeks ago. A recorded sale of it went for $3. This is starting to become more traditional Mark Spears.
Yeah, but all the classic stuff is still there, like the green, the kind of not really a background, but a color like smoke. I mean, yeah, classic.
Yeah. And now we got to a book that a lot of people are familiar with right now because it has been on the list before. Headless Horseman, Halloween Annual #1. This is cover C. This came out last year in 2023. Well, 2 years now. Fair market value of this book is at $97. There's still no recorded slabs for this book. This book did sell at $100 not that long ago. And the last recorded sales value of this book is at $95. It is his first Dark Horse comic. It is a Headless Horseman comic. So now we're starting to see the value of Mark Spears. And one of the things that Mark Spears does very interesting, it's kind of hard to note it here, but if you guys know, Todd McFarlane is very notorious for doing the little scroll. Mark Spears homages his work with that same scroll.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So it's a great cover. That skull looks so good.
Yeah. I love the eyes. I must have a Spears Ghost Rider cover. Please make that happen somehow.
It might take a while. Because Marvel is what's the word? They haven't been working well with Spears, but he will be doing stuff with them. Unfortunately, it's not going to be comic book based from what I heard. He has been compared to Alex Ross. And he's being compared to Alex Ross. I think what's ended up happening is it's the fact that his work is that painter style. He still works in a digital medium, but it's still a painting style.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit how his comparison to Alex Ross is becoming more and more closer. It is the first DC comic. Batman Superman World's Finest 2024, the annual. It's the 1 in 50 variant. This is going for $22. The highest sale was $40, and the last recorded sale was $15. So it's very inexpensive because it's a 1 in 50. It still has a little bit of value to it and rarity to it, but it is his first DC book. The blues that you see there, now we talked a little bit about the blues, right? Part of the reason why you're getting those blues the way they are has a lot to do with the formatting that he was utilizing. So when you are doing digital art, a lot of times they're utilizing RGB or CMYK. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, RGB is red, green, blue, which is the colors for light. So when you're working on a digital media, it makes sense to use RGB. However, when it comes to printing, it's CMYK. Unfortunately, if you are using RGB in your art style, what ends up happening is when you transition over to CMYK, the computer system cannot identify it one for one. So it has to translate it to that CMYK. And that's why a lot of his earlier works has that kind of bluish tone to it. Here is a perfect example where his Superman is very blue. But what you'll start seeing as time progresses is that he's starting to become more familiar with that. And he's actually starting to do more artwork in a CMYK format. Make more sense for him. It's like, you know what? I have to do it the way it's going to get printed, which makes the coloring schemes a lot better. But for those of you, this is his first Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fairly cheap price, because I know a 1 in 50 here in Canada would be at least $50 for me to pick up.
You might find this in the wild even cheaper. Until people start recognizing these books exist, people are going to pick them up and not realize what they are until they find out. Here's one that's a popular one. This is Action Comics 1066. This is the 1 in 25 variant. This came out this year. Fair market value of this book is $157. 9.8s are going for $170. The highest sold was $200. And it last recorded sale was $148, which was this week. It's his first Lobo, and I think we're going to see more Lobo coming soon.
Yeah, and the detail on the hands and everything is amazing.
Mm-hmm. So if you really look at the image, like, it's kind of hard to see it from this perspective, but if you look at it, it's kind of it gives you this Hannibal Lecter vibes to it, because there's people hanging in the background, and he's using Superman's cape as a bib. But that is Lobo for you. That's Lobo.
He likes blue, and Lobo's blue, so it works.
He's more gray. So there it is. Here's another one that's very underappreciated. Green Lantern War Journals issue number 12. This came out again this year. We're looking at books that came out this year for $5. That's what the price of this book is, $5. It's his first Green Lantern work. And even though I didn't put it in this presentation, he does a lot of connecting covers as well. Those books are going for cover price as well still. Mm-hmm.
Again, like, great detail on that cover.
Yeah, like, I've never seen, John Stewart look like that. No. Like, that John Stewart looks tough. So
yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's another one that's a kind of under the radar. This is Absolute Power number 3. This is what they call the Power Participation cover. I don't know what that means. I don't care. It's a $6 comic.
Yeah.
You got failsafe in the front. So another first DC crossover. So he does have quite a few DC books. There are some that are coming that are absolutely gorgeous. So here's one that I figured, hey, you know what? It's a $6 book.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, if you put them all in order, you can see a development of the style. At least
And,
from my point of view, like I'm not super familiar with all of his art. So
yeah. The other thing is worth noting is that a lot of the art is not in the order of when they were created. So they're appearing as we speak, but they're older pieces. You'll
yeah.
start noticing that as we go. He's able to perform this work because he is doing a digital media, which allows you to go a lot faster than normal. It's just the manipulation of the program and how you utilize it that makes him go a lot faster. So that's really the thing. And again, a lot of these pieces are older pieces. These pieces have been created about a year, 2 years ago. So they've been sitting there and now they're coughing him up because he's currently hot. Mhm. Here's the Spawn that I told you about, Spawn 356. This book came out not that long ago. This book is currently going for $3. Um, there are 9.8s, and 9.8s are going for about $54. The highest sale was $59. But this book is only $3, and this is his actual first Spawn cover.
Another one I'm going to be looking for on Wednesday.
This is one of the older pieces, and you could see that like you said, that development in his style. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the big book. But before we get to talk about the King Spot editions, he did do a Kickstarter campaign because the Mark Spears Monster series were part of a trading card series that he also did a Kickstarter for. So there are plenty of trading cards that came out 2023, 2022, and then he just created a comic book because he wanted to do interior work. So if you pick up Mark Spears Monsters, it is his work. He did the interior work, which I give him respect. This is where I say he's becoming the next Alex Ross. If he does more interior works, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, from going from covers, like take like a artist I love, David Nakayama, and he's done tons of covers, but hasn't really done any interiors. You make that transition and can lay things out and work with the writer and do your own thing. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This book currently is going for $900. This version, right? This is one of the most expensive books out there because he printed them out. He had a printer. The printer did the copies, and that was it. So this book is going for $900. It's very difficult to find because again, the print run is low for this book. Right. With that, this is where we get to see all these homages. So one thing that Mark Spears has, I guess, you've been accused of. I don't know if it's an accusation as much as it is a general love, because we've all done it, right? And that is paint. It's the homages, but his homages have to deal with the different types of monsters. So the universal monsters type. So you can see Amazing Spider-Man 600 there. You can see the famous Dracula comic that's there. And then there's some other books that come along there. There are a lot. And I can't show you all of them, but I can show you some of them. Here's another one. That one's an homage to an Iron Man cover of the one with Frankenstein. I didn't even know he did an homage to the Transformers cover right
No,
there.
I've never seen that one.
So he did that one, and then you have, Dracula's witches there, or brides. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
Um,
I just ordered the Killing Joke homage
oh yeah,
that was in the previews. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the Keen Spot books. So Keen Spot decided that, well, they worked with him in which they distributed his book, and they actually have a 50-50 distribution. So 50% of the sales he gets, 50% of the sales they get. How you take it, it's up, it's your own personal reason how you feel about it. This book is the one that started it all. This is not the big book, But this is the cover A, and it's currently going for $172 near mint. 9.8 goes for $321. It just sold for $382, well above that fair market value. Um, uh, a recorded sale of 190 happened as well this week. And as I mentioned, it is part of the trading card series.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I think in a couple of weeks or a few weeks, we're going to see how this all holds up when all these retailers get all these books in, and if they suffer from that or not, that whole kind of limited print run.
Yeah, oversaturation, I think, is bound to happen now. I think we're at that stage. Everybody knows about Mark Spears. There are those who absolutely want to pick it up, and there's those who are like, it's just another one. I'm not going to discredit his popularity right now because he is, dare I say, he is the artist of 2024. I don't think anyone out there has come close to what he has been able to accomplish this past year.
Well, there's a ton of hype around his name for sure.
Mm-hmm. The comparison is Alex Ross, because you can't say that about the other guys. You cannot say that about, let's say, Art Germ. You cannot say that about all these other artists that have been coming out. David Nakayama. You're not going to compare David Nakayama to Alex Ross. The only person you can make that slight comparison is Mark Spears. And in this book, he is doing the interiors. So I give him credit for that. He wanted to do the interiors. Right now, the book has 8 issues in, so it's not going to end in 4. He's going to continue the series. I'm not sure if it's an ongoing series or if he wants it to be an ongoing series. But he has 8 issues already in the pipe. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at the big one, which is the Bridezilla variant. So we saw the other one, which is going for about $900. This, let's be honest, reprint.
Yeah.
This reprint is $159 near mint. 9.8s are going for $398. However, this book has sold for $430 in November. Last time it was sold for $130. This is the Bridezilla cover. Have you ever wondered who she looks like?
No, I just figured like Bride of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm. She has comparison to a very popular I use the term actress quite loosely in this case. But someone that was really big in the 90s, I would say.
It
And
looks very
worked with
familiar.
Stan Lee at one time.
Oh.
She was also married to a famous rock star. If you look at the chat, you may get the answer.
Angelina Jolie.
She's been getting comparisons to Pamela Anderson. And he was asked about that. He says, well, he has a model that he utilizes as well, and that's the comparison here. This is the book that kickstarted it. Dare I say, kickstarted the Mark Spears train. And right now it hasn't stopped.
No.
It's definitely Pam. Mm-hmm. Our next book is The Trick or Treat, second printing variant. This one is special because this has an Air edition. And it showcased the mole.
The
you
mole,
can see it on the
mole
image.
edition.
Yeah, the mole edition. It hasn't gained that much popularity. It actually has died out because the fair market value is $29 today, and it last sold for $25 in December. In November, however, people wanted this book that badly, and someone coughed up $203 for this book. They could have waited, couldn't they?
Patience.
Mm-hmm. A mole.
Oh.
A mole, and it was a printing error. That's all it was. I would have just let it slide. I was like, let's just leave the mole there. Who cares?
Yeah.
Mark Spears Monster, the Ultimate Comics ASM 601 variant. This is limited to 500 copies. This is going for $77. There's no slabs recorded just yet. $150 raw was the last recorded big sale of this book. And recently it sold for $75. So the price of this book is actually dropping.
I would look at picking it up. I'd have to check the price, but being
Mhm.
fun to have it side by side with the ASM one.
Yeah. If you go back and you hunt down the Kickstarter books, they are immensely expensive. We're talking 500, 500, 600, 700, and you saw the Bridezillas going for 900. Those are the books that are hugely expensive.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
Let's take a look at some of the covers here that he has for this book. The Halloween homage, the werewolf one is. I actually really like the werewolf one.
That's amazing. That's amazing cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, you got another one with the Bride and Dracula, another werewolf. Nightmare on Elm Street one is currently pretty hot right now. And we kind of knew that when we talked about it, the homage to Nightmare on Elm Street.
I'm taking my own advice. I'm just being patient. I'll wait. I'm going to get that eventually.
Right. You got the Steranko, Incredible Hulk homage there. I would have used Frankenstein personally instead of
Yeah,
the werewolf. But, you know, right. Here's another Bridezilla one. It's like werewolf on the phone, so that's another. Some more that's out there. Look, Punisher homage 129. That's actually that one looks pretty cool. I like that one.
yeah. The werewolf again,
All right,
very
the
well done.
Infinity
Yeah, that was really
Gauntlet
cool.
homage. The Top McFarlane homage
Yeah,
to 340. Here's another Monsters. So he's done so many because they were all part of his trading card series too. So there was a little bit
yeah,
of that going on there too. There you go, Spider-Man #1. Some homages there. There's an homage to X-Men: Days of Future Past. So we have that one. A classic pre-code horror
yeah.
books. Star Wars
Star Wars.
and Wolverine and Hulk. Obviously, Incredible Hulk 181. So,
There you go. See, you got the Frankenstein there on that one.
mhm. Yeah, see what I mean? I would have used Frankenstein. Here's another book that came out not that long ago. It's the Svengoolie 45th Anniversary Buzanza #1. This is from Buy Me Toys variant. Company is called Gemstone. Um, are you familiar with Svengoolie?
No, I've never heard of it.
So Svengoolie is have you ever seen Mystery Science Theater
Just a
3000
few
or heard of it?
episodes. I've
Okay,
heard of it.
so
Yeah,
he's very similar to that, where he's kind of like a host. He hosts a show that leads to like a horror series of movies and stuff like that. So he does that for Me TV, and he's immensely popular apparently in that genre. And what ended up happening is that they ended up doing a comic book with him. And this comic book was I do remember this when this book came out and how some people it actually did appear in the list. I'm not sure if this one appeared in the list or another book. Now I'm starting to think it was this one. Um, Again, another. A lot of people don't know about it, but it still has some value to it. It's about a $68 value, fair market value, with the highest sale being $75. But it's based off of this popular Me TV series.
I was just going to say that in Canada there was a band called Svengoolie, and any of the Canadian people listen might have. That's what it reminds me of,
Mm.
just spelled different.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the guy. I've seen him before. It could be Svengoolie. Our next book. This one's a hugely popular book, the Thundercats Apex #1. The one I showcase is the 1 in 15 Virgin variant, which is the most sought after book out of the bunch. There is a metal edition as well, which has some value to it as well, but this is the one that people are hunting down for. This one's going for $110 near mint. There's already 9.8s, and the last 9.8 was at $42. So that's an outlier, I'm sure,
Yeah,
because this book is selling for like the last highest sale was 209, but the book is going for about $150. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And when we talked about this book before, it's still true. You put Thundercats fans together with Mark Spears fans, and a major appearance, and you got a winner.
Well, here's the other thing. Mark Spears is a die-hard 80s animation fan. He loves Thundercats. He loves Transformers. He loves G.I. Joe, and he loves Silverhawks. So you're going to see more of that coming soon. Mm-hmm. All right, here's another one for DC Comics. Superwoman Special Number 1. This is the 1 in 25 variant. Fair market value of this book is $56. 9.8s are going for $70. The highest sale of this book was at $105 on December 15th. Last recorded sale was $50. Again, there goes that Lobo.
Yep. And like you were saying, now that they've shown this one, this is probably an earlier one that was done as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was probably made aware of Superwoman's costume. You know, they usually know these things in advance. So there you have it. He probably did it alongside the other Lobo piece that he did. One that we talked about as well, Return of the Living Dead. This came out last week, actually, for American Mythology. Fair market value of this book is currently at $14. 9.8s already selling for about $87. The highest sale of this book was early in the year at $100, but the last recorded sale was $10. So somebody, like we said before, couldn't wait, could they? They had to have it.
Had to have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's that. And let's take a look at some other books there that he has coming up. So that first book, Miss Fury and Green Hornet. I've seen art that looked like that with those same characters. This is what I meant by the comparison to Alex Ross. This looks like Alex Ross comparison of the characters.
Yeah, I think so. You can easily draw that comparison for sure, especially when you take out the horror element and just kind of go more realistic people.
Mm-hmm. You got the Mum-Ra in the centers for Dynamite that's coming out very soon. There's a lot of covers for that one, for that specific piece. So be on the lookout for that one. Silverhawks is coming out, and he'll be doing some covers for the Silverhawks.
And there's some really cool ones of that too. Really cool.
Yeah. And he's going to do Johnny Quest with Space Ghost. Like, that looks like a kid, but man, it doesn't. I don't feel the Johnny Quest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like he's the kid from The Sixth Sense, to tell you the truth.
Or something like that for sure.
But you're not going to tell me you don't want that Superman Flash race?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. It's good, but I don't know if I would get that one. There's other ones I'm going to be hunting. You
notice that the blues have been cooling off a little bit?
Yep.
Right. And finally, he will be doing Spawn 77. My understanding is that he's going to be doing interiors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's why I said get your Spawn comics ready, because he's returning to Spawn. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm taking this list to the store on Wednesday.
So there you have it, guys. Mark Spears. Let me know what you think about his books. Do you like his art? Do you not like his art? Do you think he's a fad? How do you feel about the Universal Monsters and his take? Do you like the homages? Please let me know in the chat. And we'll see you at the next Creator Spotlight. Wow. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more comic content. Check out these other videos for even more insight, and I'll see you at the next one. Excelsior.